that they need to know about and things of that nature. Because a lot of times people do have, like you said, those pre-existing conditions. They might have different kinds of ailments that they've already been diagnosed with that are life-threatening or that definitely impacting their lives, and whether that's something.
Now, what happened there?
But yeah, there's things like hypertension or some other kind of causes of illness that folks have to deal with. You need to let not just your doctor, but like you said, your family members know how you want to be treated and everything. Because a lot of times when we go to the doctors, even with what's going on now with COVID and everything, folks need to know like who has the determination factors in your family. If you are having to have a plug pulled or something was going to happen, that you would need to have the doctor communicate with that. I know a lot of folks, because of different religious beliefs and everything, don't want necessarily to have transfusions and things of that nature. So you need to let somebody in your family know that, because there are some religions that don't believe in blood transfusions and don't believe in certain other kinds of things. But you need to communicate that with somebody in the family so that you're not going against whatever your belief system is, if that's something that you were already had in your mind that you did not want to do. Because I do know there are some people for different reasons. And like I said, the main one I'm aware of is religion, but I'm sure there are other reasons, even sometimes that the medicine may impact folks differently than it might impact other folks. So there are different reasons that folks might not want to do whatever the medicine is, whether that's a vaccine, whether that's some other kind of treatments that exist. And you need to have somebody on your family that knows what these thoughts are when they're there in the hospital with you, because a lot of times folks are just kind of guessing. They don't really know one way or the other, and we can't be having that kind of guesswork going. We need to have folks that actually have a plan and that know what that plan is. So can you say, when you wrote the books, now the book has been out now, how long, and what are some of the, you've alluded to some of them, but what are some of the primary points of the book that you definitely want folks to get when they read that book? And like I said, you've given it to a number of friends. And is it a self-published book, or is it a book that you've actually got from a publishing house, or did you publish it yourself? But definitely, what are some of the points of the book that you really want our listeners to know about? And of course, like I said, this is an issue that I think is important, not just here in North America, but of course, me and you are, but globally, because we do have here on IBM.TV a number of folks that watch from around the world, because we've got folks that are watching from Australia, South Africa, and other parts. But this is an issue that I think is a global issue. It's one that folks need to be aware of these kind of decisions, whether they're living here in North America, either in North Carolina or California, or even if they're living in India or Australia or South Africa. And that's just some of the countries that I know we have listeners at. So it seems to me that it's an issue that folks need to know about regularly.
Well, yes, there are a few. There are a few that I would definitely like people to know about. A couple of things that I talk about in here. Um, Number one, people need to make sure they have a guardian in mind.
Right.
You have children, you should have something in your mind about if something should happen to you, who do you want to be your guardian for your children? A lot of time people don't think about that, but it's important to know. Like, this is something that needs to be known so that in the event of the unfortunate accident or anything that comes, they know who to call. Always have two backups for every person that you list on your policy too, because sometimes people leave a little bit early and then you have to fill that space. So I think the other thing I want to say is go back and check your policy. Check your policy every couple of years. If you haven't checked it, check it. Because you may find some things that are not accurate. You may have an old address. It's a lot of things that you would be surprised that would prolong the process if they needed to go there and it's not accurate. All right. And a policy for funeral expenses is not the same as having something set up for your children if something should happen to you. Those are two different things, okay? So if you want to have something for your children in case something happens to you, allocate separate funds for that. Okay, allocate enough for the funeral and expenses, but also have something else in place. And I can definitely talk about on a separate topic that right there, but that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
A few other things I like to tell people is I can't stress enough that you need to check your policy very often, and also pick the right policy for you. There's different policies out there. You have short-term policies, you have whole life policies, you have different policies. I don't like to talk too much on that topic because, again, I will stress I am not an insurance agent. I have a lot of insurance agents that I work with. I have two that wrote something in here. Matter of fact, one of them wrote something in my book, and she was an insurance agent, and she said that what she said, she did the forward in my book. Her name is Jonica Rowland, and she said that this book, Final Wishes, a guide for transition from life to death, reflects the life lessons that Crystal Smith learned from some from mishap that occurred during funeral preparation of her loved ones. Additionally, Crystal, as well as I, had witnessed other unfortunate circumstances regarding the lack of money for funeral and caretaking. And she said, even though the insurance agent even though the author is not an agent, she displays an easy term and the necessities for people on having insurance and the knowledge that the loved ones need for leaving final wishes to look into financial, medical, employment background, and the other necessary things. She said, in today's world, having knowledge is power. Having knowledge may reduce stress, and having knowledge can save money. And that is so true. So all I'm trying to do is just give people something to think about. Like when they watch the show, if anybody watching the show, it might make them think, you know what, well, mom and dad is getting older. And the next time when they sit down, they'll find a way. Something may happen. It could be they have a headache and they go to the hospital to get checked for COVID. And they may say, well, mom, let me ask you a question. You have insurance, right? Well, what kind of insurance? When the last time you looked at your policy, mom? Well, can I see it?
Right.
Find a gentle way to bring it up. The other thing I did, Mark, in my book was I left a place for people to actually put a personal note to their loved one.
Oh, wow.
A personal note to say something to them that they might not have never got a chance to say. Well, if you're reading this, I just want you to know I love you, and whatever it is that they never got a chance to say. Because sometimes people, like we said earlier, are holding grudges, they're not speaking. So, and I think it's really sad. So I left the place for them to get that off their chest. I also left a place for people to fill in information so they can actually put stuff in here. I'm trying to go this way. Okay, put stuff in here. All right, on this page for questions you may not know the answer, like where were you born? Where did you go to school? If you ever notice on some funeral programs, some are longer than others when you read the obituaries, that's because some people knew the information and some people don't. And so those who know the information, you see a nice in-depth description of their, what they accomplished, where they've been, but sometimes you don't see anything. You don't see siblings. And I'm going to tell you something. When you go back later on and you grow up, because my family's doing it right now, Mark, those obituaries help you to reconnect with your family.
Oh, yeah.
Because right now, my family and I are connecting with some of our uncles and aunts, and some of the people, if we didn't know, we pulled the obituaries out because the obituary said, okay, they were born to this, it named the grandparents, it named their siblings. And so we then went back and we were able to find other people based on the information in the obituary.
Wow. Yeah, because a lot of times folks don't even find those things till much later in life. I think I just read recently that one of the major celebrities of the world, Oprah, just recently found that she's got a sister that she didn't even know that she had, that she's now leaving some money to and everything. But she's done the research and done the back research, and it's found that this is an actual person in her family. So it's somebody that she did not know was there, but found, like you said, that commonality, and now know that. And that actually happened to my dad because he was reached out. There's a family, I think, in Ohio, and he's an only child, but these are like some cousins, distant cousins to me. They might be second or third, but they, right before COVID, maybe about a few years ago, he found them when they had reached out to him, because I think they had done that whole ancestry.com and some of the other stuff, and it found that we were connected. And they do like a big reunion, I think, in Ohio. So we were hoping to get that confirmed 100%, because you want to make sure that it's 100% confirmed. And if it is confirmed, I know I know he was planning to go to that big reunion in Ohio, and then maybe bring me and my younger brother along that second or third time. But then, of course, things have changed, things have happened. Of course, COVID in the world has happened. So right now, that's all on hold. But I do know that I think he's still in touch with them and is open to make that connection. So that's just like a personal example. But I do see folks that are oftentimes reconnecting or making new connections that they didn't know that they had in their lives, because you have to do that research even on the ancestral side. So I agree with you that folks definitely need to do that. Now you're talking about the insurance, and I know you're not an insurance agent. We made that very clear and everything. But one of the things that has surprised me is a lot of folks are concerned about the expense of insurance. And I know that sometimes that expense can add up. They might take out a certain amount of money every month as part of your premium, I think it is what it's called. But that being said, it's like what you were talking about, just with even having a plan. Oftentimes we don't always have that plan, or we let it lapse, and we don't even always know that it's lapsed, because I mean, they'll send you a letter, and sometimes we'll ignore the letter or not pay attention to the letter, and then you might think that you got insurance, and then when it's time to happen, you find out that you didn't really have an insurance policy, or you find out that it didn't have accumulate as much money. Because the way, if I understand it, the insurance works, particularly on life insurance, is that you have to put in a certain amount of money in order to get out a certain amount of money, and it's going to go over a period of time. So, like I said, you might have a policy that maybe is taken out, and I'm just throwing out a figure, $40 or
That's the whole
$50 a
life.
month.
Yes, that's the whole life insurance. If you have term life, though, you can't take any money out. Some people borrow money from their whole life insurance policy.
Right.
So you're right about that. But some people just do term, and that's why I said with the term, it's very important, because like I have a cousin right now who's about to be almost 80 years old. So his policy is about to terminate, because it was the policy he got earlier, and it was something. Most people get like a 30-year term. So his 30 years is up, but he outlived his policy, so he has to get a new one. Here's the other thing, guys: when you go and you renew your policy, the older you are, the more expensive it is. So if you're going to renew it, sometimes it's good to look at it and change it earlier and get a longer term at an earlier rate and lock in that price that holds for all that time, rather than waiting and getting it at a later time and you're older, because now you might pay 20, 30, 40, $50 more a month because you got it when you were older. So, and if you get it when you're older and you have maybe some illnesses that have arrived, and now you have some conditions, that's going to change, and you may have to even change companies. So it's better to just really look at this stuff early on and just make sure, even with your parent, that you are really paying close attention. And if you're every year, I tell people, look at it once a year, every 2 years, go look at the policy. And parents, if you have young parents, if you're a grandparent, do what my mother did. They got my policy at an early age, and then they gave it to me when I turned 21. Okay. So a lot of parents have the insurance for you. They started it and they held it and they let it accumulate. And that was like one of the gifts they gave me when I turned 21. But here's the thing. If you have a child that you know is irresponsible, don't give it to him. Right. If you have a child that you know is going to let it lapse, like you just said, and that's your grandchild and your child, you keep the policy and you keep paying it. Yeah. If you know they are irresponsible and you know your children, you keep the policy and you keep paying it. But if you're watching this today and you are not sure if your grandchildren or your children are insured, or you know they're not insured, you can get a policy for under $20, under $10. You can insure two. I think I insure, I've known people, I've done under $15 for two people, a child and a mom. It's possible. A child can be insured enough for under $5, $3. It's not that expensive. Don't be afraid to ask somebody. If you see this and you need direction, put a comment in here when you see this video, and I will tag some of the insurance agents that I know, and they will contact you. If you know somebody that had pre-existing condition and they haven't been able to get insurance because of some illnesses and they've been denied, put a comment in here and we will make sure that someone definitely gets back to you, because everybody can get insured. They're just different places they have to go, but we can definitely redirect you. There's different places like Heritage and different. Lincoln Heritage is one. They will insure many people who can't get insurance in other places. So there's different places. Globe is great for infants. That's that policy you get in the mail. Everybody remember getting that little thing in the mail. And, there's always some things that come in the mail. That Globe insurance is good for that. So that's a good thing.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. And one of the things I'm wondering about is, do you think that folks should be thinking about even the final wishes? How young do you think folks should be thinking about it? Because I know we've had a number of folks around here that unfortunately have lost their lives at a very young age, whether that was because of things that were going on outside of their control, like what's happened with BLM, or whether that's folks that were facing diseases and things of that nature. So when you're thinking about even like talking to your kids and your folks, how often do you have that conversation with them about the final wishes? Is that something that you think that they should start thinking about at the age of like 6 or 7, or how young should people start thinking about those whole concept of a final wish in your mind?
What you know what, Mark? I've seen a lot of parents that had to give a lot of children grief counseling. There's a lot of children that have had to have grief counseling because of car accidents or because of COVID or because of unexpected death of their classmate, and then the school wind up doing counseling. I think it is a conversation that parents need to have in their houses early. As early as you start introducing all that other stuff. I mean, we are living in a time where a lot of conversations that we didn't have when we were coming up till later, we can't wait that long now. A lot of conversations about sex because there's so many predators out there. We have to have that conversation with little girls early about how they dress and about people, all this um sex trafficking, and they're snatching up these little girls. We have to talk to them about strangers and about how we look and how they look at you. So I think the same way we need to have a conversation about um, not maybe an elementary school child, but certainly when they start getting up there, at least when they start talking about wanting to own a business or wanting to do something, that's a good time to bring it up.
Right.
I think every parent will know according to the maturity of their child. You know what I mean? And they'll know when to have these conversations. But every child should ask their parent these questions. If their parent is anywhere over 50, they should have the conversation with them about what they want to do.
Right.
And they should have a conversation about their medical history. They should have a conversation about that, because another sad thing that is a whole nother topic is some people don't know their medical history because maybe the mother and the father is not together. And so when they get sick and they need to know something, they don't know the answers. So
Right.
this is why in here, I tell people to put the answers in here. Go down and put the answers. If you were in the military, put down certain things, because whether or not you were honorably discharged is something that they put in obituary. You know, if you achieve certain things that you want in your obituary, write it. There's a lot of people who write their own obituary. Did you know that, Mark?
Yeah.
People write their own obituaries. People
Yeah.
tell you what song they want. Last week, I sent a song to my children, and I know they went, "Why is she sending me this?" But I saw the song, and it's one of my favorite songs, and I sent it. I saw a video. I said, "This is what I want you to play if something should ever happen to me. This is the song I want y'all to walk out. I don't want y'all walking out on that. They play that sad music." I said, no, 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 no. This is what I want. I have a vision for the celebration of life that I want for me.
Right.
I don't want a sad funeral. You know what I mean? We don't want to talk about it, but we should. And we got to talk about this stuff. We
Yeah.
need to talk about this stuff so that it's easier on the children. And so I talk about it. I tell my children, okay, I just updated everything. So I sent a copy of everything to my oldest daughter. I send them stuff and said, okay, in case you need to know, in case I get sick, here's this. We need
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah, because it's been interesting watching. And unfortunately, because of COVID, I know some folks that have passed on that probably would have had a more greater celebration of life, but instead they wound up doing like a virtual celebration. I mean, they were still very touching celebrations, but it wasn't the same kind of celebration that they probably would have had in the past because of what's going on in the world. So they weren't able to have the same kind of celebration that they probably would have had. I mean, like I said, I watched the virtual celebration of Brother Ray Earhart, who is a activist in one of our communities here in Durham. But I remember when he passed, it was more of a virtual celebration. There were a couple of others that have passed on, and it became more of a virtual celebration because, unfortunately, there were restrictions based on what was going on, either with the funeral homes or with some of the other things. So they couldn't do the more traditional kind of ways of having um, the laying of rest of the body and everything. So we are seeing that folks are having to even adapt and change their final wishes. So that's even what I've seen happen as well. That some people may have had one kind of final wish in their mind, but because of what's going on in the world, they weren't able to do it in that traditional way. So there are folks that are changing their final wishes right now because of what's going on. And you're asking about comments. We are having a couple of folks that have made some comments and have been watching. So I know that Maya Spikes has watched, and she was letting us know that this is a very important topic. So she was definitely glad that we were having this conversation, and was definitely letting you know that she finds it to be an important topic and all of that. So definitely glad that Maya is watching and paying attention, as was Danny Hayes earlier. So Danny Hayes was watching and also letting folks know that they were watching and all of that. And then I had some folks giving some likes, including Tish Oakley, who does one of our shows here on IBM.TV. She runs Earth Monkey Energies and has a show about Plant a Seed, which is about planting positive thoughts in people's minds. And a lot of that is around meditation and positive thoughts just in general. But whether it's planting those positive seeds or whether it's dealing with the realities of life, we oftentimes have to have various kinds of plans. So I think that Tish would agree with that.
And you know what? I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of times people think this is a sad topic. It's not a sad topic. It's reality.
Right.
It's reality, because the reality is, think about your children. Think about the stress on them if you don't write this.
Yeah.
The stress on them if something should happen unexpectedly, and they have to think about everything. They have to scramble like I had to do for my brother, and they don't know where to start. They don't know who to call. In this book, I wrote like who to call, like especially for your business. Who is my banker? Who is the accountant? Who had the plan? Who knows the vision of the whole company that you can go to if you was to be the one that you wanted to carry on your family member's company? There are some children that don't want to carry it on, but if not, if they're going to be in charge, tell them who to go contact, who is willing, who you already have in place to do it. You know what I mean? So point them in the right direction so they can do that. You know, that's important. Business information, banking information, any document. Hear noises. Do you hear them noises?
Yeah. Say what?
Do you hear them noises? Because I'm hearing noises.
Oh, it's the yeah. There's noise on my side. So, like I said, but they're hearing you in the conversation. So
Okay, okay. I
definitely,
just
it's on
want to
my
make,
side. Yeah.
you know what, with the internet today, we can expect all that stuff. Again, if you have certain documentation, look, this book is $9.99 on Amazon. If you go
Okay.
to Find Their Wishes by my name, what you see on the Crystal Bodie Smith, it's $9.99.
Right.
Now, it will be the best $10 you ever spent that will give you peace of mind. I'm telling you, it will give you peace of mind to know that you filled this out and you stuck it in the drawer somewhere in the house
Mm-hmm.
and you have it. I'm telling you, I try to think everything that person could want, from your medical background, from any diagnosis that maybe you didn't tell everybody that you had, that they might not even know. You know how you go to the doctor and they ask you about the history of your family? There are some children who don't know those answers. And
Right.
then they have grandchildren. You know, they're going to have children later or grandchildren, and then they're going to wish they knew. So this book is for that. You know,
Yeah.
again, I'm all about life. I'm all about living. I'm all about enjoying life. But I also just feel like it is so important for us to not do this to our children. It is our duty to have insurance, one, and it's our duty to convey what we want done and lighten the burden on them. There are too many professionals out here. You can do what we call a pre-need with an insurance company. You know, people don't even know, like, you can go buy a casket ahead of time. Nobody does that. I haven't done it, but you can save money if you do it in advance. There, you know, a lot of times at the last minute, it's more money. You know, there's things now that weren't in place before. Cremation. Some people are doing cremations now. Cremations are the way to go because it's a lot less money, and a lot of people, when they are not prepared, they do cremations because it's about $5,000, $6,000 cheaper, or
Right.
less expensive. Let's put it that way. I want to say that. I don't want to say cheaper, but it's less money to do a cremation. You know, so, and the virtual experience that you talked about, Mark, I attended my first virtual funeral about 3 months ago, and it broke my heart because this is a family member that grew up with me, And we've been there for each of our families for every funeral. You know, we've been there for each other. They come here, I go there. We've been there for. They've been to my mom, my dad, my brother's funeral, and I wanted to be there, but COVID-19 wouldn't let me. I was so crushed. But I'm gonna tell you something. It really it blew my mind that I was watching a funeral on the internet. It was like, this is the world we live in now. I'm
Right.
watching a virtual funeral. I
Hmm.
couldn't believe that. But now they had the capabilities. I'm sure the funeral parlors had capabilities before for people to be able to tune in. But
Right.
people really wasn't tuning in. No, people wasn't tuning in no funeral. But
Right.
now I guarantee you, people who never had tuned in before, if we took a survey, a lot of people have watched a virtual funeral now.
Oh
And
yeah.
because they would rather do that than be there because they're afraid to be exposed.
Mm. Yeah, you got a point there. I know a lot of folks have, because I've gone to a couple of either virtual, I've been to one or two virtual funerals and definitely a couple of virtual memorials. So definitely they're out there and folks are doing different kinds of ways of trying to honor their family and everything. Because I know I definitely saw Deanna Carson, who was a lady out of Chapel Hill, actually relatively young lady, died at a relatively young age, but she was an activist, and I know her husband, and he's the one that told me about it. So like I said, it was in the early ages of COVID, so definitely folks were not able to go, not even that many family members. And it was actually at a relatively big church, but I think they had maybe less than 30 or 40, but a number of folks, because they were well known, were watching it virtually, just like folks were watching Ray Earhart's, and that was more of a memorial. But definitely I've seen these things, and you're right, it's so different age that we're in now, where folks are having to do these decisions and make some very hard decisions about how they want to do that and all of that. Because even my uncle's funeral, which I went to not that long ago, and we actually were at the actual funeral at the, it was, he was buried in one of those mausoleum kind of type deals and everything. But we were there in that mausoleum at the service. But his son, unfortunately, is doing military. Well, he's doing consulting. He was in the military, but he was doing some consulting in one of those Middle Eastern countries. So he actually had to watch it virtually. So, like I said, because if he had come in town or come back, he would have been confined for 2 weeks. So he wouldn't have been able to attend the service anyway. So he actually had to watch it. His wife and their kids and grandkids had to show him on the screen what was going on. And so he was actually in attendance, but in attendance from a virtual standpoint. And I'm sure that when he comes back, I think he comes back this month, he'll find some way to actually go to where his dad is buried at and have his own way of honoring his dad in some kind of way. And I know that his brother, because his dad was military, so he got the flag and all the military stuff that comes with those veterans when they pass. And
Now,
so I'm sure that his brother will pass that on to him because he took it right now. But he made it very clear to everybody that was attending that when my cousin and him comes back, Jonathan will pass it on to him because that's the order it's supposed to go in. It's supposed to go to the oldest son.
wow. Well, I'm glad you said that. It's funny. I was smiling because I was on that page, in page 20 and 21 of my book. It's about military information. And one of the questions I asked is, have you ever served in any branch of the U.S. military? If so, what branch? And was you honorably discharged? And then I asked about the DD 214 form, because that's the form that the children will need to have, you know. And then I asked about whether or not they want to be buried in a veteran cemetery, because there are cemeteries for
Right.
veterans, and some want to be there. Then other people may want to be buried with their loved one because they may have gotten a plot, like they may have gotten married and they got a plot together. So those are questions. And then other thing is, sometimes people with the military or other companies want to have certain pins on them when they pass
Mhm.
away.
Right.
They want to be, wearing certain things. And so those are the things that we ask in the book so people can put that in here, you know. And I'm gonna tell you something. If you have switched jobs a lot,
Mhm.
if a person is somebody who changes a lot of jobs, make sure you go back and you update your information, because a lot of time it's old information on these policies. I have a question here that says, have you updated all your former job and old policies with current information?
Right.
And I go back to the beneficiaries again. A lot of time people don't think about it, but if you have a person who passes away in your family and you're not thinking about your policy, that's the last thing on your mind. But a lot of time when people go to look at the policy, they find the beneficiaries have died
Oh
because
yeah.
they never changed it. They never updated it. You know what I mean? So that's why I say it's very important to check this so often. And I can't stress that enough. And then I talk a
And
lot about,
sometimes things can even change because I was just thinking about a conversation I had with a dear friend of mine that lives out in the Las Vegas, Arizona area, but they were telling me that they have had a couple of family members that have passed away. They've lost both their, and they're not a spring chicken either. I think they're in their early 60s, but they have lost both of their parents and they had lost their brother. And I think the brother might have even been, I can't remember whether the brother was an older or a younger brother, but one of those family members they lost, they actually had asked to be cremated and then have the body's ashes scattered in what would amount to be the family house. But then, like I said, they were thinking about that with one of the other family members who was after that first family member, but the house has been sold. So unless they're going to sneak onto the property, that's not going to happen where they can put those bodies in the same place because, like I said, they don't own that house anymore. So, like I said, at the time that they were doing it the first time, it was no problem because they own the house and they just did it as part of their ceremony of the way that that person wanted to be honored. But if the other person wants to go to that house, one, they're going to have to figure out, you know, like I said, when I was talking to them, they were like, I guess we could sneak onto the property and things of that nature. But that would give you all kinds of other legal consequences if you do that, because then you're in the process of trespassing. And then one of the other family members, they were telling me that they know that it was like out in a wooded area, but they have to catch up with, I think it was their nephew to find out exactly where that person had their ashes scattered if they wanted to scatter the other person's ashes in that same place. Because I think it was a case of a husband and a wife. So I think the husband had their ashes scattered in one place, and if they wanted to scatter them in that same place, there might have been a son and a mother. I can't remember what the order was, but but they would have to figure out where it was because only one family member I think went out there and did that. So they'd have to communicate and try to figure out if they remembered exactly where they had that ceremony. Because sometimes folks will want to go and do it, whether it's at a beach, whether it's at a wooded area. People like to do it for different places for different reasons, and whatever those reasons are. But a lot of times, folks have to put those things in their wishes, like you're trying to encourage people to do with your book. But then they also probably have to have what I guess would amount to contingency plans, because, like I said, if you're at some point going to sell the house, then you might need to have a backup plan as to some place that they might want to be honored as well, because you can't honor them in that house unless you want to break the law and trespass. So, like I said, they might have to have some contingency plans. So I'm thinking one of the things that you tell folks, Crystal, is to have a backup plan of some sort or another, just in case things change, whether that's in the family dynamics, like husbands and wives that divorce, or kids that become estranged, or, like I said, losing a house. So there could be different things that change within what's going on. So I'm thinking one thing that you encourage folks to do, your friends and people that read the book, is to have not just a one plan, but to have like some backup plans.
gotta have backup plans. You have to have, when you talk about backup plans, I have residual income as well as a near income. And the near income is what most people have because they have a job and they're working and they work a certain amount of hours and they make a paycheck for the hours that they work. But we're living in a time where people have to have a way that they are making more money, not just on their job, but they have to be making residual income so that they can have that money set aside to save for whatever that comes up in life, because sometimes it's just not enough. Some people are just making enough to pay their bills,
Right.
and thing that I like to do is I like to share information. So just like today, I'm sharing information about final wishes from everything that I've been through. I also share information to people in other ways, with me being a business advisor, travel advisor, and consulting and marketing. I try to help people to understand the best way to live, not just to live. I mean, that's the word. Not just exist, but to live. Because so
Right.
many people to me are existing right now. They are paying bills, paycheck to paycheck. They're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Now, granted, a lot of people are well off. A lot of people are not in that predicament, but there are a lot of people who are and have been put in that position, unfortunately, because of the current events in 2020. And so one of the things I've been doing this year is trying to just help people in any way possible. And I'm an open book, so I try to help people to be better prepared in life. And if I can help a person with something that I've learned, then I'm going to share the information. I always say we need to just really be each other's keeper, and we need to let people know things. We don't need to keep information to ourselves, So I think that's important. And I do appreciate you letting me come on and talk about this because, like I said, people don't want to talk about it. I appreciate the comment, the people who said that they really are glad we had this topic. I know when I spoke with, Gary would get with the program, Special G,
Yeah.
Gary Jones. Oh
Yeah.
my God, and he did the show. He said he had such feedback. It was amazing. It was amazing. And then I did another one before. Every time we talk about it anywhere, it's always a great response because if you have the listeners that are mature and they
Right.
understand that this is life, this is important, it helps them and it makes them think, oh my God, you know what? I need to go look at that. I need to go check that, because she's right, and I'm just giving you something to think about. I'm giving all of you listeners something to think about. People take too much time to watch unnecessary stuff on TV and they're missing the most important thing right there. As you can see, in 2020, we have had to deal with a lot of uncertainties. We have a lot to deal with unexpected emergencies, calamities of all kinds, and people have lost their lives. People have gotten sick that never thought they were going to get sick. Young people have gotten sick. COVID has even started it doesn't discriminate. So we are encouraging everybody not just to get life insurance, medical insurance, mental health, whatever you need, go get it. Dental insurance, short term, long term, go get financial insurance. Okay.
Right.
Most people don't know what financial insurance is, but I can tell you about that. Inbox me or put a comment if you want to know what that is, and we can talk about that too. Mark can tell you about that too. We
Yeah.
are here to try to make sure that everybody just gets whatever they need. The reason why we do these things, the reason why we come on the air, the reason why Mark has all these different people with all these different shows is we're trying to bring awareness, And so the thing is, what are you going to do with the information?
Yeah.
That's my question to all you listeners today.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with the information? Because we hear stuff all day.
Oh yeah.
But if you don't apply the information, then it really didn't do you any good. This is not entertainment.
Right.
This show is not for entertainment today. This is to provide vital information that could save somebody's life. Now, save your life from misery, save your life financially, and you save a few dollars, save you and give you peace of mind, and just knowing that when you have to make those decisions, it comes a lot easier to you. Maybe I hope that I help somebody to be able to be bold enough or brave enough to go and ask their parent or ask somebody, are you covered?
Yeah.
Or go to your employer. If there are insurance policies, if your employer does not insure you, put a comment because I have an answer for that too.
Right.
I have an answer for those who jobs or companies are not giving you insurance. Or maybe you lost your job. Maybe you lost your job and you don't have insurance at all because you don't have a job. I have an answer for that too. So
Yeah. Because
I'm
we're your.
trying to be very, very, very resourceful.
Yep.
So if you let us know, we can assist.
Oh yeah, definitely. And there's companies that are doing all kinds of things that are we're just now finding out. I just heard early today that there's a major corporation that has some offices around this area that is just recently been accused of age discrimination. And they're just one example. So a lot of times folks are even facing like age discrimination. So folks are having to think about these hard decisions at this particular time because folks are dealing with age discrimination and other kinds of discrimination, whether that's discrimination around race or discrimination around gender or a number of other things. So you're right. People have to think about these very difficult decisions that are going on in folks' lives because a lot of times folks are not necessarily thinking about these very difficult issues that are things that need to be thought about on a regular basis. So I'm so glad that you were able to let folks know about the book, and hopefully you'll get a number of folks that buy the book. Like you said, it is available on Amazon. I think it's also available on your website. And if you want to, we got a few more minutes left.
Yeah.
If you want to just tell folks a little bit about your own like business consulting and some of your other business stuff as well, we've got time that you can share a little bit about that story if you want to. But definitely, I know a lot of folks will be glad to know that you are a successful entrepreneur with a number of different businesses. So I don't know if you want to let folks know how they can reach you if they want to learn more, not just about Final Witches, but some of your other enterprises. So if you want to share with our listeners a little bit about a few of your enterprises, as well as how folks can reach you both about the book and other things that you are involved in.
Well, I tell you this, Mark, again, I just want to thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate you and what you're doing out here, giving individuals a chance to shine their light,
Yeah,
and it's good for people to shine their light because everybody has a light,
yeah,
and people have this I don't know, this thing where they think that if they put somebody else's light out, theirs is going to be brighter, but that's not true. We all have a light and it's going to shine regardless. So you don't have to put nobody else's light out. Shine your light.
exactly.
Okay. And so the thing I want to say to you is yes, I am a catalyst for hope. I'm a change agent. I'm an igniter of hope and I try to set a fire if I can in you. And I hope today that I said something that set a fire in you, whether it was to go back and look at your paperwork and figure out if you have all your information in place. I don't care if you're 15 to 21 or if you're, in other words, baby boomer, Generation Z, doesn't matter which category you fall in. It's important information that you really need to think about.
Yeah,
You're on this earth, you have a purpose, and while you're here, figure out what your purpose is and then just be good stewards over your life. If you have children in your life, make good choices. Please decide today. If you have not been insuring your children, decide today to make a sacrifice and go get a policy.
okay.
Find out an affordable policy because there are affordable policies. If you don't know the information, put a comment here, inbox me on Facebook. You see my name, Crystal Bodie Smith. I'm all over Google. You can
Yeah,
find me on Instagram. You can find me here. You can find me Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, www.iamcrystalbodiesmith.com. I'm not out here just because I want attention. God made me this way, and I don't know sometimes why he did this, but he did what he did. So I have to be used by him. And so I promised him that I would be a voice in the community. And so I'm telling you today, if you need help with finding insurance, if you need help with not just life insurance, but medical insurance, or you need help with financial insurance, or you need some inspiration, contact me. I am available. You can hit me up on my email, which is shout crystal. Just like you shout hallelujah, you can shout crystal. It's shoutcrystal@gmail.com. I intentionally made that email for that reason because people are tendency to surrender and they shout hallelujah. So I said, shout crystal.
good.
You understand what I'm saying? So I can change your life, point blank.
Yeah, yeah,
Whatever it is, if you contact me, I can change your life, regardless of whether or not you are in a position where you think you are set, or if you think you just need a break and you need a change, you need some help, you need direction, just contact me. You might just need motivation.
right.
Even people who have all the money in the world need motivation. So
Yeah,
whatever it is, if you don't need nothing, you just want to tell me thank you. If you just want to tell me thank you because now you're thinking about stuff that you weren't thinking about before, I would love to hear that. I really
yeah,
would. If you get a chance to, please go to Amazon. I didn't promote this book when I first wrote it, Mark. I wrote it because I needed to get it out. I needed to get it out of me and I needed to write
right,
it because it was when stuff is in me, that's how that's my therapy. I just write it.
right.
And so I had someone to help me do it. And I'm gonna tell you, I know God is working because she hit me up 3 days ago and told me she moved back to Raleigh. I said,
Mm,
wow, because I have written 4 books. I have 2 more that are already written, but I need to publish them, so I'll let her help me do it. Because I do different things, that's not my priority now, but now I know I can trust her to do it and it'll get done. She'll help me finish it. And I'm so excited about that because those topics are necessary. I like to deal with topics that people don't like to talk about.
Right.
Because
That makes sense.
if all the stuff they got on TV, Mark, all the stuff they saying and this music and stuff, it's like anything goes. So I figure I might as well go ahead and educate some people on things they need to know. That in back in the day, a lot of people would talk about stuff, though everybody's talking about everything now. So why not use it to empower people
Yeah.
for the
That's
good? So did
Yeah,
that make
that's a
sense?
good
So,
point, and that's actually what I know the folks here at IBM TV are all about, because they're about trying to empower people through financial literacy and also reaching out groups that are not oftentimes given that voice. So I know that Nick Valvado and Kim Calhoun and Angit, that's part of the reason that they created this network that they've now got me part of it as well. So they are definitely about trying to give the voice to those that don't necessarily have a voice, because a number of us don't have a voice for whatever reason. So that's why they created the network, and they're definitely trying to have a lot of positive voices in that regard. So I know that they'll probably reach out to you as well, and I'll make sure that they do. So I know that they're very much about trying to have positive folks involved in the network. So definitely that's something that they
yeah.
talk about on all of their shows. Who are some of the folks, just really quickly, that motivated you? Like I said, you definitely have been the one that is very passionate about this, as well as other things that you've been involved in. So what are some of the things that motivated you personally in terms of your life? I imagine that some of those folks that passed on that you're honoring with
Yeah,
that
some of
book, but
my parents motivated me. Oprah Winfrey. I look at her. Les Brown. I met Les Brown when he came to Raleigh years ago when Eric Kelly had him here, and we did some things with him. I have a cousin. My director Niecy Douglas is very motivational and inspirational for me, and quite a few people. Maya Angelou. I used to read a lot, but I'm just motivated by still being alive. You know what I'm saying? Like
right,
I know that God. I lost everybody in my family to cancer, and my sister has had cancer 4 times, 3 brain surgeries, and a stroke. I
wow,
have nothing. Okay. I know that I have a purpose on this earth. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm motivated just by being alive and being healthy. And every day that God gives me another chance, I know that I have a purpose and I have to share the information. If I only help one person a day, then I did my job. If one
yeah,
person, when you told me that, and I saw that pop up for Maya and that young man, and
right,
they said thank you, that was like, okay, my job is done.
yeah,
My job was done because 2 people said thank you. This is important. So that means in the back of their minds, it's there.
right,
You know what I mean? So that's important to me. That's all that
oh,
matters. It might come up in your mind again. You
yeah,
might think of something because I'm telling you, if you have stepchildren, I'm gonna tell you this as we get ready to close out.
yeah,
Stepchildren, woo! If you have step parents or if you're thinking about marrying again, please cover your children.
right,
I'm gonna
yeah,
say that again. If you have stepchildren or you are thinking about remarrying and you're a woman or you're a man, make sure you cover your children. Write it out what you want. Man, oh man, that's a whole nother story. But I'm telling you right now, please cover your children because if you don't have it in black and white, things don't always go like you think they're going to go.
right,
People change. And sometimes people say what you think the person wants to hear. People are good for that. So write stuff out. I'm telling
yeah,
you right now, I've seen some things, I've heard some things, and I know some things. And because of those things, I'm trying to prevent you from unnecessary pain
yeah,
in these life situations that we're going to go through. The transition from life to death is a transition that everybody's going to go through. Everybody's going to go through.
mm-hmm,
Everybody has a dash, and everybody is going to go through. Some people will live longer. Some people will be here till Jesus comes, but some people won't. So all I'm saying is live your best life while you can now and just be smart about the choices that you make. Again, www.iamcrystalbodiesmith.com. Shout Crystal at gmail.com. Shout Crystal on Instagram and Twitter, Crystal Bodie Smith on Facebook. Reach out to me. I would be happy to assist you in any way I can. I'm just the average person. That's why today I didn't come out and I didn't put on no suit. I didn't want to put on a suit and get all dressed up. This is not that type of program. This is
Right.
the everyday program to let you know we are everyday people, and this
Right.
is the everyday circumstance. And Marc, I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for allowing me to have this platform to discuss this topic that people won't talk about. And you let me know what kind of feedback you get, because I'll be interested in knowing, because it needs to be talked about more. We need more positive stuff too. I mean, I'm trying to find the positive in this, the positive in this, the positive in discussing the final wishes, guys, is that you are going to feel so much better the day that you have to deal with the situation. If you have prepared, you are going to feel so much better. If you've already done this and you get sick, and then now you don't have to scramble, because all you have to do is tell the child, look in that drawer. Right. And the information is already written down. Everything they need is already written down. The policy information, the funeral home, everything they need is already there. And all you got to do is hand it to them and say, here. And then that takes the burden off of them, y'all. It takes the burden off of them. Trust me when I tell you, when they don't have to be thinking about that. Now they can just spend those last few moments telling you how much they loved you. They can spend those last few moments just valuing that last few minutes with you, and not have to try to worry about how they're going to proceed and how they're going to deal with this afterwards. I hope this helped you.
Yeah, I think you've helped quite a few folks, and I'll definitely let you know what kind of comments we get, both from within the IBM family, the IBM TV family, as well as from our different listeners, because I know that they posted on different sites even after the show is done. So I'll definitely let you know what kind of comments we get. And you're right, I'm actually of the opinion that our grandparents and our great grandparents oftentimes had these kinds of papers that you're talking about, but for whatever reasons, the last several generations have got away from that, because I know that definitely our grandparents and our great grandparents oftentimes had those papers tucked in their house, and you knew where those papers were, or at least the folks that were in their kids knew where those papers were, because I know that was the case, I want to say, with both of my grandparents. But I think that we did get away from that, and we need to get back to having those plans and knowing where things are. So Final Wishes by Crystal Bodie Smith, a great book, and definitely look forward to having more people get that book and order the book and all of that. So just want to thank you for being on, Crystal. We are doing an event on a week from today, which IBM.TV is a co-sponsor of World Peace Day. So okay, as you are getting ready to leave and everything, if you've got any thoughts that you want to share with listeners, that, and you've done this all through the course of the conversation, but if you've got any notes that you want to share in terms of positive thoughts in general, and definitely I'd love to hear your thoughts about what world peace means to you, because we are doing that event in about a week from today. So if you would let folks know, and we may put that clip out, what world peace means to you. But I do know we're trying to gather from some of our guests what world peace means, and if you've got any thoughts that you want to share with the world, we'd love to hear those as well.
Once again, my name is Crystal Bodie Smith. I am your hope catalyst, and my mission in life is to stir up the gift, instill hope, and save life. And how can you have peace if you don't have hope? So one of the things that I say is keep hope alive. Yes, Martin Luther King said it, Jesse Jackson said it, but I'm telling you today, keep hope alive. Every day, no matter what you're going through, if you keep hope alive and you have a little bit of faith and you mix the two together, then you can't do anything but have peace. Because see, peace starts with you. World peace starts with the person. You got to have personal peace first. So personal peace comes with your mindset being free, not being, baffled, not being jumbled up with too much information in it. So start by protecting your own personal peace. Protect your peace by watching the people that you have around you, by watching the things that you watch and that you hear, and be very mindful about what you subject yourself to. Protect your peace, and then you can contribute to us all having world peace.
What a powerful statement, and I agree with you. It's on the personal level that where that world peace starts. Once again, I do want to thank Crystal Bodie Smith for being on the show with us here today, the radio show with Marc Lee. So I'm getting ready to wrap everything up. You were a great guest. I've got one more show to do here on IBM.TV where we'll have one of the folks from StreamYard as well as a person that'll be talking about their comments on that person that currently occupying 1600 because they wrote a book analyzing his tweets and some of his other things that he's done on social media. So it's a gentleman from New York that's written a book about that. So those will be our guests on the show at 4 o'clock. And then, of course, we've got our radio, more audio podcast that is at 7 o'clock. And I'm looking forward to that as well. So definitely glad to have you on. Do know that you are part of the IBM TV family, and we hope to have you back on. You've been on now twice, but definitely hope to have you back in the near future to talk about some of the other things that you are very much involved with. So definitely want to thank you for being on, and I'm going to bring on our ambassador and everything, because we have a ambassador that gives folks a little bit of information as to what they should do in the sense of hand washing and a lot of those other things. So I'm going to just change a little bit of our backdrop and bring up the ambassador, so you'll actually see the ambassador. The ambassador is actually one of our producers from India. It's his daughter, and she does a great job of giving us some great advice. So check out the ambassador right here. This
coronavirus से कैसे बचेंगे? Okay, hand होकर और ऐसे अपने खांसी जब आएगी तो ऐसे करेंगे अच्छू अच्छू और कोरोना वायरस को धन्यवाद हमारा म्यूजिक सुनने का.
And then, of course, we'll wrap everything up by going to one of our other announcements and everything. So definitely a great show. Definitely was glad to have my friend Crystal on to share her knowledge and her thoughts. But let's see the plane as it gets ready to get us on out of here. And then, of course, at 4 o'clock, we'll be back with our other show. So definitely, I think folks will enjoy this. Here's the plane. And by the way, I don't want folks to forget that we have some other great programs here as well. So this is one of the shows that I am a big fan of. I hope that y'all will become fans of it as well. So I do want to let you know about Plant a Seed. So Plant a Seed. And in addition to that, there are some other amazing shows that air here on a regular basis as well. So definitely want folks to know about the many great shows that we have here. So another show that folks might want to know about, if they don't already know about it, is this show as well, which my friend Zach does. So look forward to hearing about funk music with Zach. And last but not least, in terms of shows that you might be interested in, we just last night started a new show which featured Bill Tresvant. And this is entitled American Politics. So if you want to know what's going on the political front, this is a show that you want to catch on every Sunday afternoon, or Sunday evening, I should say, around 7 o'clock. It is an amazing show with the great Bill Tresvant. So if you're not aware of all these great shows that we've got, and by the way, I caught a couple of them yesterday being Sunday, because I did catch Bill's show. I also called Alexandria May's show from South Africa, and of course the Talking Upstream guys as well. And of course they're out of Colorado. So a number of great shows were the ones that I was catching on this past Sunday, and they were just amazing conversations, and they were definitely very enjoyable. So if you're not familiar with these shows, definitely go and check them out. They are on different days and different times of the week, but there are just some amazing shows that happen here on a regular basis. So whether it's me talking about things that are going on in the world, and there are a number of things that are happening in the world that we need to be staying informed about, or whether it's us learning and getting some wisdom from folks on a variety of topics. It might be chess with Sasha, it might be folks learning about fantasy football, or it might be Economic Mondays, which I know we had earlier today. And of course, there are a number of other great shows. I know that on Thursday, I'm oftentimes helping with the Gamers Den, which is another great program that exists right here that talks about the video game industry. So if you're not familiar with all the great programming happening on IBM.TV, I would definitely encourage you to become more and more aware of what's going on with these amazing shows. There are truly some great shows that are happening here on a regular basis. So looking forward to having some great conversations. Mulin's music and memories will be coming your way later on this afternoon at about 4 o'clock. And like I said, we will be having as our guest a lady with StreamYard, which is a platform that we use here, as well as a gentleman that will talk about his book dealing with the person currently occupying 1600, that being that person who goes by the last name of Trump. So like I said, that will be going on later on this afternoon. So it should be a great conversation, and I'm looking forward to having an enlightening conversation with folks about what that's all about as well. So definitely hope that y'all will join me back at that time. So in about another, like I said, top of the hour at 4 o'clock, we will have that conversation going on. So I do want to thank my guest, Crystal Bodie Smith, for sharing a very important topic. And it is a topic that is very difficult to deal with. I know that I'm not always the most planned person in a lot of things in my life, so I need to be working on some of these things as well. So like she said, she did get you to think about things that were very important in life, because we are always constantly going through that process of getting older and aging and all of that. So definitely I want to thank Crystal Bodie Smith for being my guest once again. It was a very delightful and enlightening conversation, even though we were talking about a very difficult issue, but an issue that must be dealt with as we deal with all of these things in life. So once again, I'm going to bring back that lovely airplane, and we'll take off once again. I think we took off once, but we'll just make it a habit and take off more than once and that will be what we'll do to wrap everything up. So once again, I do want to thank y'all for tuning in to the radio show with Mark Lee. And I think we had a very interesting conversation, and we'll have more interesting conversations on Mullins music and memories later on this afternoon. And don't forget the online dinner party on Thursday. I mean, not Thursday. I'm trying to give you the day for the Gamers Den, but the Gamers Den is on Thursday at 1 p.m. and the online dinner party is at 4 o'clock on Wednesday. So in 2 days, we'll have the online dinner party. There will be some more mystery guests. By the way, our mystery guests this time, I think we're going to go into the Western world. So we're going to have a Western person that will be our mystery guest from the United States. I'm still trying to figure out which part of the world I want to go to for our international. I have not been to South America, so I'm going to find us a mystery guest, maybe from the world of politics, maybe from the world of sports. I haven't even decided yet, so y'all will just have to guess along with me. But it will be somebody that will be of South American descent. So we're going to have somebody that is South American that is going to be our international guest, since I've already been to Africa and been to Europe, but I haven't been to Australia, haven't been to the Antarctica, and definitely have not been to some other parts of the world, including South America. So we will have a South American mystery guest along with somebody from the history of the United States back during the Western era. So we will have a Western person in terms of that. So that ought to narrow it down in terms of our clues for who that could be. I'm not going to tell you whether it's a man or a woman, but they're going to come from the West and being out of that whole Western mentality. So we're thinking like cowboys and Indians and things of that nature. So think along those lines, and maybe you can guess who I've got in mind in that category. So I'm just going to put that out there and see if y'all can start thinking of some theories, because I thought I was doing real good last week and gave y'all some what I thought were easy folks, and y'all did not take the bait and go for it. Like I said, I did not think that these were the most difficult folks when I gave you Winston Churchill last week, as well as a criminal that had been known for a long time. So like I said, I thought that I was doing real good in giving y'all those folks, but y'all did not bite. So 3 weeks in a row, I have actually come up with folks that y'all have not figured out, and I need y'all to do a better job. So if we're going to have these mystery guests, I need y'all to be thinking and watching the scroll, the banners going across, so that y'all can see the clues and hopefully give me an answer. And I am going to talk to Lynn Shepard and some of our other folks and see if we can't get y'all a prize if y'all can go ahead and figure out the winner, because it's got to be easier than y'all are trying to make it out to be. So hopefully think about that and try to come up with who that winner is. And on that note, let's take off on that plane one more time.